It's been a debate and it's been a topic of discussion and argument for many, many months. And whoever's going to be the next tenant of the White House down there behind us will surely have to look at healthcare, possibly even dealing with emails too. Now then, some people in America believe that Obamacare is wonderful and that it works. Other people think that it's been terrible and it's unaffordable. So let's talk to Americans here with me. Chuck Rocha, who was part of the Bernie Sanders campaign, Gail Trotter in the middle, who's a columnist and a political analyst, and a retired civil servant who supports the Green Party. Joe Corbett is on the far side there. Thank you all for joining us. I think I can guess which way you think about Obamacare, Chuck. What makes it worthwhile and workable when there are so many questions about it?
Anytime you have a bill that's this big, it's never going to be perfect. But I think it was a good start. Anytime you can take 20 million Americans and help them get health coverage when they didn't have health coverage before, I think that's a good thing. I draw from personal experience. I've got a 25-year-old son who lives in my basement, who considers himself a musician. That means I support him a lot of the time. He gets to have health care because of this. I have a sister who's got a pre-existing condition. She now can have health care. Before, both of those people wouldn't have had health care. But I'm also a small businessman. And since the beginning of Obamacare, my premiums have went up. My co-pays have went up.
How much have they gone up?
The first time I got on, I was saving $125. Today, I'm paying about $80 more.
And will they go up again?
25% next year, they're saying, right? So it's not perfect, and I think it needs to be fixed and tweaked, just like most massive bills that we've had to deal with.
So, Gail, even Bernie Sanders supporters saying it's not perfect. What is not perfect about it?
Oh, there's so many things. I could just give you a litany of them, but it's affecting small businesses. It's a huge drag on our economy, and we're talking about 25% increases. Some people will have 100% increases. It is wrecking our, world-renowned healthcare system in a way that liberals and people on the left say, well, let's fix it. But conservatives say the only way, the obvious answer to the problems of Obamacare is to repeal it and to replace it.
And
go
back to replace it with?
Right, to a market-based solution that doesn't depend on central planning from Washington, D.C., that's not focused on these Depression-era type programs that are command economy.
We'll come back and discuss exactly what will be in place. Joe, you're retired.
Right.
Now then, does that mean that healthcare is something that's even more in the front of your mind because of your time of life?
Well, I was a federal employee. I've had good health care my entire life. But other people have not had it. That's the problem in America. Even with Obamacare, there's still 28 million people who do not have insurance. So yes, there's been an improvement with Obamacare, but it's the wrong, there are too many flaws.
And let's discuss those flaws. What needs to be? Because Clinton, in the debates, and this came up in every debate, she said, look, we have to repeal some of it and keep some of it. So what would you get rid of?
So I think that the core here is if you're a basic business person, you can realize that the more you spread the risk across a larger universe of people, it should draw down the cost. In the beginning, the problem with this thing has been not enough people have gotten into the bank to spread that cost along people. It's under 10 million people who supposedly the projection said would have signed up, right? So you have to make it different. And let's be clear. I would love single-payer healthcare. I would love to have single-payer healthcare. I'm willing to take this healthcare as an in-between. I write my check, my Obamacare check, to a private insurance company. A private insurance company whose only really benefit to their shareholders is to make money.
But
it should be about healthcare,
but you
not
don't
about
know how
making
much
money.
it's going to cost yet, do you?
That's right.
Now then, Medicare. Is that the answer for the Republicans? And how would it work? Because obviously, we all need healthcare in some form or other.
We do, but we need choice. And this just reminds me that people on the left never have seen a government program that's too big or too costly. So their solution, like you just said, Chuck, is to go to single payer, which eliminates even more choice on Americans' behalf. It interferes with the doctor-patient relationship and is exactly in the wrong direction to fix the problems of Obamacare.
What would you fix as voting for the Green Party?
Okay, I just want to respond. I've seen a government program I want to reduce, and it's too bloated, and that's the military. It should be cut by 50%. So
that's a
the liberals,
constitutional program under the Constitution.
So does it say how much? Does the Constitution say how much we support it?
No, but the primary focus of the American government is to provide, the federal government is to provide for the national defense, not to provide health care. That's something that should be done locally, that is best done locally, and not central plans from D.C.
Let me ask all three of you. Start with you, Joe. Is it a basic human right to have health care? Is it or not? And
yes,
is it all about money and how much it costs?
Yeah, this is where the big flaw of the Obamacare program. Bernie was for health care for all, health care as a right. Jill Stein is the same way. So this is where you started. It's not a product. It's a human right,
okay,
and that's the fundamental difference.
Gail, is it, especially for the elderly, especially for young people, those who need it, is it a basic human right?
Well, it's interesting that you put it that way, because once we talk about rights, then we're talking about something that no one can argue against. I would talk about the right of choice, the right to be able to pick what products you want instead of being forced in an unconstitutional program that requires you to buy government sponsored health care that's inferior to what was in the marketplace before Obamacare was set up, or to pay a penalty. And that's the problem. Your son, who's living in your basement and being a musician, pursuing his creative interests, is on your insurance because Obamacare said that children could be on the insurance till age 26. But a lot of young people, they're gonna foot the bill for this, because the benefits, I mean, you can declare anything a right, but somebody has to pay for it.
So what we come back to is this question of affordability.
Right, I think so, and I think that the more you get that pool larger, it's better. Let's be clear that people were against Social Security when it started as well, and Medicare. They said this big government program will never work, and now if you talk about that politically, and I do politics, not policy, people would, we do the commercial every year of the Republican taking grandma and throwing her off the cliff, because that's the way that they think about older people, right? But that's just a sign of the times, right? I think that there are certain things that the market bears, and I think competition is good in most things. Keep in mind, I'm a small businessman, but I think that in health, in people's livelihoods, right? I do think that there's a role for the government, and I think right now Obamacare is not perfect, but we're getting close.
So is it a role? Say Trump wins the election. Say Trump comes in, he repeals Obamacare,
yes.
Then he starts with Medicare. So there is a role for government.
There is a role for the poorest of the poor in society, but honestly, the religious charities like the Catholic Church historically have been the best providers of health care at the local level. And we have the Obama administration, and if Hillary comes into office, the Hillary administration, that are going to dictate to Catholic churches what they can do and not do against their conscience.
I guess we could be here for 10 minutes talking about health. I want to talk about something else as well. You've guessed it, emails. Joe, what do you make of the fact that the FBI now has reopened this investigation into these emails that have been found from Hillary Clinton?
Well, I've never been satisfied with her responses in the past. She has basically lied about the emails. She said she would meet with the Inspector General of the State Department. She never did. She said she would fully cooperate. She never did. So the latest thing, it's just part of everything that came before.
Chuck, Roger, how much of a difference, potentially, 11 days out, could this have on the election?
Just politically, most of this is already baked into the cake. Her numbers can't get too much lower on the trustability, just like Donald Trump's can't on whether you like him or not. It don't bother me at the level, it bothers me at the Senate level and down ballot.
Okay, and very quickly, will this make a difference?
It will make a difference.
It will have a difference?
Because we already see so many polls showing that independents are swinging towards Trump. Many Democrats are rejecting Hillary Clinton because of the trust issue and because of the corruption issue. It will make a difference.
We have to leave it there.
Okay,
thank you very much indeed.
Jill Stein.
Joe Corbett, Gail Trotter, Chuck Rocha, thank you very much. You can see why people love talking about health in the United States and also about these email scandals. Back to you.